Why is grace so central to the gospel? You know, if we're saved by grace, why not just live how you want? See, what you need to understand is that grace is not a license to live and do what you want. It's actually power for you to be transformed. Grace helps to transform your life. Now, this is the thing. Just because we have grace and God has forgiven us of all of our sin doesn't mean that we should go and live lawlessly and do whatever we want. The reason why is because if you live a lawless life, meaning you do whatever you want, however you want, whenever you want, you'll find out that your life will be filled with inconveniences. Because when you start to sin, when you start to live like the enemy, when you start to live like the world, what's going to grow in your life is going to be craziness and bitterness and hatred and bondages and strongholds in your mind. This is what happens when you start to live how you want. This is why the word, it sets out how we should live. There's a lots of moral laws within the word of how we should be living morally. And if we start to go against those laws that's in the New Testament, we go against the words of Christ, and we start living according to the flesh, you'll find that your life will be filled with inconveniences. Your life will be filled with troubles. So even though we commit sin, even though we do wrong, God's grace is sufficient for us. Where sin abounds, God's grace doth more abound. So there's always going to be more grace than sin. But the thing is, just because there is lots of grace and we're saved by grace, if we start living according to the world, living our life full of sin, your life is going to go down. It's going to be on a downhill trajectory. There's going to be no fruit in your life. There's only going to be bitterness, hatred, and evil is going to manifest in your life. And that's what you don't want. So what I'm saying here is that when we start living contrary to what the word says, you'll find out that your life becomes very, very, very hard, very, very, very tough, very, very, very inconvenient, and things don't go well, and your life won't be filled with blessings, and it won't be filled with revelation, insight, and freedom. It's going to be filled with sickness, bondage, and defeat, and you don't want to live that way. So let's not take advantage of grace like that. The Bible says, because we've been saved by grace, does it mean that we shall continue to sin? God forbid. See, even the Apostle Paul warns of this. Even though God has forgiven us of all our sin, doesn't mean that we should continue in sin, because sin actually attracts death into your life, and you don't want that.